Good evening. I'm not sure if I'm gonna post this, but I kind of wanted to get all my thoughts out while they're fresh. I just watched first, uh, the presidential debate. That not the first one, but the first one where to quote Jon Stewart, the first one with 50% less old dude. And I have some thoughts. I'm kind of looking at it in two different ways. I guess I'll start at Wednesday, September 10th, 2024. I'm definitely more left leaning than right leaning. Um, I actually feel like I'm a lot more left leaning than I am than the actual Democratic Party is. So, and that's what was some of my thoughts I had. I'll get into why in a second. The two thoughts I had was optics. How did she do? And how did I think about her after watching her debate? Because I haven't taken the time to study up on her policies too much. Now I have looked up her website, and until very recently, there wasn't actually a policy page. Technically, there's now an issue page, which is sort of, I guess, not the placeholder, but the her version of a policy page. I'm not. I guess you can call it whatever you want. I don't know if it's if I, when I looked through it though, there's a couple of things that made me a little bit unclear if it's things that she supports, which obviously if the president supports it, that's pretty important, or if it's like things that she plans to get done, not just like support, right? Like I can like for me, like I support the end of the Ukraine war, right? I support that. I want like Russia to go back and not try to take what they took, and but I'm not like I support that, but that doesn't really do anything for Ukraine because I'm not doing anything for the people in Ukraine besides just like, yeah, go on guys, don't get assimilated by the Russians. Obviously it's different when you're president though, you have a lot more power, but I do think that like going into an administration, if you don't have a plan, we probably shouldn't expect like that. If the person that controls the country doesn't have a plan that gets something done, it's probably not going to get done. It's not like one of those, oh, if she has more time she'll get to it things. Like they barely get to a couple things when they do get to anything. So I think I'm gonna start with the quicker one, which is how I thought she did. I am 27 at this time, and I grew up watching a little bit of debates. The very first debate I ever watched, I remember this, was the John Kerry debate when I was like 10 or even younger, probably I was like 8 or 9. And very briefly watched it, had no idea what was going on, and that was that. Then I watched the Obama debate. I can see the old white dude, war hero, I guess, guy's name. If I can't remember it, I'm not going to. John, no. But both of the Obama debates I watched. The first one I watched more. John McCain. I got it. So I watched the John McCain debate. I was a little older, still pretty young to understand what's going on. Mitt Romney I watched. I was just starting to figure out what was going on. And then on the first debate I was really involved in was the Hillary Clinton Trump debate. That was when I was in college and I was a political science major. That was my degree I got, and I was pretty involved. And I would have, and then I watched obviously all the Biden Trump debates. I definitely think Kamala Harris did a better job than any Democratic candidate has since Obama, and I think she does that for a couple of reasons. I think that for one, she's 50 in her 50s, so she's there, which I think that like 65, like if you're over 65, you should. If you're over 65 in business, you're not considered like able to do it anymore. So if you're over 65 to run the country, you shouldn't be able to do that anymore. So I think that's going for her, that she's the right age for the job. I think that she had a couple moments when she just did a pretty good job, just sort of like looking baffled at Trump saying ridiculous things. Um, like when Trump was talking about like the immigrants were eating dogs in Springfield, which is really funny because whenever I hear Springfield, I think of The Simpsons. So, so I'm just thinking of some Simpson character eating a dog. But anyway, yeah, I thought of that. That was wild that he said that, and she had a good like the fuck reaction, which was pretty funny. Which is what you need to do. You need to be like, yeah, that's not normal. I'm not gonna make a normal face because that wasn't a normal thing you said. And then there was a couple other, but it was mostly facial expressions, and then also I think it was kind of interesting that she went after his campaign and said it was like his people left his rallies early, which I never would have said. And I like to argue with people and I don't think I like to get under their skin. Maybe that's my issue, but it was funny to watch how he just went nuts after that. For like a little bit. And I think he also kind of hurt himself by just like refusing to answer any of the questions straight. He just sort of, oh yeah, I instead of answering this question about would I veto a Roe v. Wade bill, I'm a Roe v. Wade or abortion. What they asked the Constitution. The guy asked him, hey, would you veto a ban on abortion? He was like, immigrants. And it was just like, okay, you're not going to answer any of the questions. So what's the point of you being here, bro? You're just going to use this as a soundbite. You gotta. These are questions. The reason those questions are there because they're important to the American people. That there's a way that they get these questions. If you're not going to answer them, then I guess do what you got to do. But we know that you're not here for the majority because those are majority questions. So yeah, like I didn't really go in honestly like hoping to have like a new opinion of Trump. Like I wasn't expecting him to do anything so crazy that like, because Trump, like the man's been around for like 10 years now. I think his campaign literally started like 9 years ago, 2016, or 2015 is when this all started. It's 2024 now, so it's been 9 years since like this man's been in the eye of the public, and yeah, like I don't know what he could do now but he would have to like do something absolutely insane. Like he would have to like, I don't know, like take his pants off and run around or something like that. Like it had to be like super out of pocket for me to be like, oh no, he didn't. Because if he says anything, I'm just like, oh, that's, I mean, like we've all listened to like the grab him by the pussy tape back in 9 years ago, and that didn't really phase the electorate, so I don't know why like saying immigrants are eating dogs is much different. So I think in short, I think that like Kamala did pretty well. I think the bar is pretty low for her to do well because I think that Biden did a pretty bad job, and I think Hillary did a pretty bad job. But I also don't think there's some points where she should have just been, like jumped in when he just like, when it was her turn, like that was dumb. Like there's no 9-month abortions. That's not a thing. Like you're just fear mongering for no reason because you don't have actual policy. Stop. Is that 30 seconds? Do I get 90 more seconds? Okay, I'm gonna talk about something else now because there's nothing else to say. Like you don't need to like stand there and be like, my privilege as the president will be to defend your rights to a woman's right to choose no matter what. When the guy before you just said 9-month terminations, you can just be like, you don't need to gratiate that, level of bullshit with like with an erudite response. It just doesn't. It almost validates what they said by you treating it like it was worth responding to. It's like that whole like the lion doesn't concern itself with with like the gazelle's opinion or something like that. There's a saying like that, and it basically means that like if you if you have a good opinion and you're like the top shit, then you shouldn't have to like get down to the mud with everybody else. And if you hear a shitty ass opinion and you have a good take, you shouldn't have to you should just not engage beyond just being like that's dumb and moving on. So that's some of my thoughts on how how she did. I think like I said, if I would rate it, I said like B minus. Like I don't know if she like really barn burned. I think that people are so overwhelmed by how bad Biden did in that last one that like she could really do not that much, and people would be like, oh my god, she killed it. It was amazing. Because like Trump's declined. He's declined. He didn't know that like he got West Virginia and Virginia mixed up. He thinks that like a tariff is something that the other country pays. Like he doesn't know what's going on. Like he's declined, and it's in he's in his like late 70s or maybe even approaching 80 now. Like he's declined. He's an old dude, and him and Biden should not have been allowed to be in this race. It's great that Biden is out now. I think that 65 should be a cutoff. But yeah, I don't think that she did amazing. I think she just did amazing compared to the last two people who debated him. Or I think she did noticeably different, noticeably better, right? So I'm just gonna say that's all I have to say on that. Like that's how I think she did. I think she did fine. I think she did fine. I think that she didn't lose any support. She may have gained a little bit. I think the most I would say though, I think the two real like savage moments in the debate was by the moderators, which was kind of sad because you kind of want the president to be the wittiest person in the room, the person that's going to have the idea of how the world's working and be able to point and be like, that's the situation we need to deal with. So like there was one moderator that was like, hey, that abortion thing, not a thing. Moving on now. That was pretty savage. Also the whole, dogs getting eating in Springfield, not a thing. Moving on now. And that's how you kind of have to treat some of this stuff. If someone just says something totally is wrong and false and just like man yelling at cloud, like you just got to be like, that man's yelling at a cloud. Move on. And it's like when I've been seeing the highlight reels, most of the highlight reels are the moderators. So maybe she needs to bring those two on for her in her cabinet. That might be exciting for everybody else if those are the national fact checkers for the country. So how did it make me feel? Because like it's different. Like if you like are looking to get free range eggs at the grocery store, and you see like cheap eggs, medium priced eggs, really nice eggs, and the really nice eggs have like a really shitty sign, like a piece of cardboard with some like black marker, like free range, really good eggs, and then the shitty one is like way nicer, like a really cool little logo that looks fun. It shows like a chicken that looks all happy. I'm still going for the nicer eggs because I just agree with. I like that they're doing more. I like the idea there, right? So if I see a bad idea, a good idea presented badly, I'm going to just gravitate towards that. And if I see a bad idea presented well, I guess I'm more inclined to gravitate towards it than if it was bad and also presented bad. But I'm still, once I've figured out what's going on, I'm just going to go for whatever is what I actually care about. So let me talk about what Kamala, her policies that she talked about, because we really only got into 3. So I have some notes for this because I do have a couple ideas here. So, and I'm going to try not to speculate because it's useless and it's unproven but I do have a couple. I'm gonna facts. Like I have some axioms I think that can stand up on their own here. So the first one was abortion. Okay, the first one that came up was abortion, and Trump bombed it. He was just like, "Oh yeah, the states. Everyone wanted it to be. Everyone hated it," which. I went into ChatGPT and Google after this. I Googled it. I think that basically abortion, pro-choice, has like 70% national support and like 90% Democratic support. So it's not like the people don't want it. It's the people in power don't want it because the people in power are not properly represented in the country. So, anyway, what that means though, in my mind, is that if 90% of the country want it, sorry. 70% of the country want it, and like 90% Democrats want it. It's an issue that you can really be like, okay, hey guys, I'm gonna like make my campaign really focused on this. Like we're gonna get grassroots movements. I'm gonna be going door to door knocking myself, getting support in key states. We're gonna get this codified into law, and we're gonna like get anyone who doesn't support it out on here, right? Like we're gonna basically do what they did for prohibition, but instead of trying to ban alcohol, we're gonna try to reinstate a federal abortion law. So that would have been cool. She didn't do that. She's more like, yeah, I support it. And I'm not going to throw her under the bus here, but I do want to put something out here just to sort of throw Democrats in general under the bus. So I'm a political science major, so let me give you a little bit of background. So there's a thing called a filibuster. And a filibuster is a tool used in Congress where the minority party can just sort of stand there and run the debate clock out over like a course of like 18 hours or something along those lines. And just like talk until the debate goes out. It's a way of basically being like, well, I think the idea behind it is like, if it's that contentious, we probably shouldn't pass this law. That's the idea here, right? But the problem is you can use that to just like stop legislation on something, even if it has a ton of like national support, right? But luckily, there's this nice thing we have here called the 60% majority, where in the Congress, if there's a 60% majority, something can be codified in the law. We think that the most secure way to have something in the law is having the courts basically be like, give it the thumbs up. But really, they can undo it the next time they review it, and this new court is ready to undo anything. So really, like anything the court did now is just like, is there going to be a case that makes it to that court? Right, that's it. So, but we have a thing called constitutional amendments, right? So the last constitutional amendment that was like really big, I wrote this down here. It was the, it was the. Hang on, these notes aren't well organized. It has to do with women. The Violence Against Women Act in 1994. This was passed. Okay, this had very similar. This had very similar support that pro-choice has. It had about 90% of the country wanted this pushed through, and about 70% of 90% of Democrats wanted it pushed through, and about 70% of the general country wanted the Violence Against Women Act. It basically just like made it like harder to abuse women, which I don't know why. I don't know what the fuck those 30% who's like, no, I don't want that were thinking, because it seemed pretty. Even like there's still a ton of violence against women today, so I don't know what it was like before 1994, but apparently it was worse. So whoever wanted to not get to what the state is now sucks. But or hopefully they change their opinion and that people can be more than one thing. So my point in bringing those two up is this is a constitutional amendment. The Supreme Court says, I'm okay with violence against women now. It doesn't matter because the Senate passed it, and the Senate actually makes laws. The courts just sort of say if what's being done is allowed, right? So that's a little. So what you want to do is you want to have the Senate pass something, like you cannot go to like if the Supreme Court said the 3/5 compromise is okay now. So I'm going to give a better analogy than I used one before, which is the horrible idea that like a black person is worth 3/5 of a white person, which is just like ridiculous and like totally baffling in this, at least this culture and this context. The courts can't touch that because it's into the Constitution now, right? What you need is about a 60% majority in the Senate and a Democratic. Democrat. You need a 6% majority in the Senate, and you need to have the presidency. You need to have both. So, in the 110th Congress, and the 111th Congress, which was the Congress from 2007, 2008, and then 2009, 2010. So it's a 4-year chunk, and it's actually the first 4 years of Obama's presidency. We had that, and we could have locked it in at that point. We knew that the Republicans forever didn't like this. Now, if you're a Democrat, maybe you're like, as a Republican, you're like, oh yeah, like it's a good thing that I return. That's fine. Like I'm not. If you don't want abortion in this country, that's your right to vote for that. I'm talking about the people who want this and want to support the Democrats. So that's like the people I'm speaking to right now. this could have been avoided, and the fact that we have to deal with this now is just a result of the Democrats not doing what they should have done 20 years ago. When I was alive, I'm 20, I'm 27. I'm not that old yet. And now here we are. And this was an issue. YouTube was around they're not back that far, but like pretty close to that far. And there's people like, why the fuck didn't this happen? We lost this. Like the people were pissed about this back in 2011 when YouTube became kind of more of a thing. So yeah, like people are not, like we could have done something about this. People were upset we didn't, and we didn't do anything about this. And now here we are. And now like if you're a supporter of Democrats and you're a supporter of abortion, it's not getting done. And now Kamala doesn't really have like a big like, okay, here's how I'm gonna get a 60% majority in the Senate and in the House, and here's how I'm gonna get Roe v. Wade. Not Roe v. Wade. How am I gonna get like pro-choice laws passed nationally? There isn't that isn't there. Now like a lot of people I've talked to is like, well, she can't talk about that because she'd lose support with the moderates. I'm like, there's not, like Obama talked about healthcare, like universal healthcare in 2006, which was a more conservative time than it is now, and I guess that's kind of up for debate if it's more conservative then. But he talked about universal healthcare, and he talked about a single payer plan, which is the first step to universal healthcare, and he talked about policy and how he was going to get it done in the campaign trail. He didn't do it. Which is horrible, but he did it. He talked about it. He talked about it during the entire campaign, and we didn't get that. So with Kamala, she didn't. Oh my God, if I've been saying Kamala, I apologize. Her name is Kamala, and I'm just super tired because it's late. But I do not intentionally call her the wrong name. I hope that if any of you are upset about that who watched it this far, and thank you for waiting this long to hear me catch this myself, Kamala. So she hasn't really talked policy on that. Now the other two issues she did talk about though is Gaza, and she also talked a lot about the border. Okay, so immigrants, in my opinion, up until now and going forwards, are a net positive to the country. They do jobs they want to do. They make the economy boost. We even have a shrinking population of the people who already live here, so it's good to have new people coming in. They're not now. They are definitely a not even a canary in the coal mine, but they are the tip of the spear of the massive climate refugee crisis we're about to experience over the next forever, for the rest of our lives probably. Like people are at least probably like 20 years until people are just out of those areas. Like people are not going to be living in El Salvador and Honduras and in Panama once it's like the summer's wet bulb temperature is like 100 degrees outside. It's just not going to happen. So yeah, like there is definitely going to be overpopulation issues in America because of the fact that like we're making there's a majority of people. We're making those areas uninhabitable, and Canada, North America, way cooler than anywhere else in the Americas. So that are at least large areas. So that's where people are probably going to go. And I think that like the both parties have kind of like know this is coming, and they're like, oh shit, we better both like lock down on the border like real quick. So I think that's why like both parties have shifted so much to the right on climate, because I've never seen the Democrats this like warlordy about the southern border. It's absolutely insane. My opinion is like the Western civilizations like us created these issues, and now the people who didn't really have as much of an impact are being hit by the most. We got to let them in, even if it hurts our standard of life. And I also think it's dumb to say that the people ruining this country are the people who just got here. It doesn't make any sense to me. I also don't like the idea that because you're born here, you can't go here. That's just dumb as well. It's pretty much impossible unless you're a Native American, to claim ownership of this country. So it's just dumb to me that we're not just like trying to like there isn't just like a an organization on the border that just takes people in and just immediately tries to relocate them to an area where they can be economically useful for them to themselves and to everybody else, and not just like let them like just drop them off in like areas where they're gonna end up picking strawberries for the rest of their lives in California. I yeah, but yeah. Anyway, I do think that there's something to be said about like about the fact that both parties don't represent leftist values on immigration anymore. Like that's kind of scary. The Obama administration was never like hawkish about the border. And the last thing, the thing that really disappointed me the most was talking about Gaza. She's been kind of hush hush on Gaza for the most part. And when Gaza came up, I wasn't hoping like if it was me. And listen, I'm Jewish, so I don't know if like my grandparents escaped the Nazis. Like they kept their money in their teeth to get over here. So but I don't know. I don't think I should have to say. I think anyone should be able to say this. I think that like the reality is that Netanyahu is a warlord. He's a war criminal, and if he sets foot on American soil, he should be like prosecuted for war crimes against humanity. And he's killed a ton of children that had no political or tactical stake in this thing. So that's my opinion. But I'm not president, so I don't have to be as PC about it. But I don't think that. I think that she should have at least been like, hey, yeah, it's bad over there, and I'm going to make sure it stops. Like, we're going to stop this. It's going to be, like, we're going to get a two-state solution, and we're going to stop the violence, and we're going to stop sending them weapons. Like, we're going to send maybe just defensive weapons. Like, I was hoping for that. And what we got was basically, like, just before Kamala said, hey, before I get into this, I just want to first say Israel has a right to defend itself, which is basically, like, a dog whistle for, like, they're justified in their actions. And then also I condemn Hamas, which is like, again, like they're the real bad guys. That's the dog whistle for that. So that's like basically what was said. And I was like, oh my God, like we're literally stuck in November 2023. And that's where we're at. And that's dumb because like this has been going on for almost a year now. And it's gone so much, the amount of far that it's gone past defending itself is just insane. Like, and then she said like, oh yeah, and we're gonna like find a solution that makes everybody happy, and we're gonna rebuild like Gaza. And I was like, rebuild it for who? Make everyone happy? Like if you kill everybody and everyone left is happy, I guess you made everybody happy, but that's kind of myth. That's not like that's the AI. That's the AI happy. That's like the I had an equation. And the only way to make it happy is to kill the people that were unhappy. Like that's not cool. So and Trump wasn't any better. Like I don't think that he could be much worse on Gaza. I know people have said he could be, but I don't really see how. I don't really see if you're a Gazan how it would be any different if it's a Kamala or a Trump administration. I don't see if you're a migrant. Like I think there's still cages on the border. That stuff's all happening still. Like, I don't see if you're a migrant it being better, no matter what administration is. I think that like the biggest issue that we have under the Trump administration is that he's trying to just like really like seize democracy. He's trying to like take over the institutions that check one party taking over, which is bad because there's issues that need to be addressed, like climate change. Like if Trump was like everything he is and like was trying to take over the world, but he was like, and my reason for doing this is we have to like balance the climate so we don't all die, and then I'm gonna give it back. I might be like, you got me listening, right? I will, but because like there's like it doesn't really matter. Like democracy is a luxury of life. We gotta preserve life first. Democracy second, right? But he's not doing it to do anything altruistic. He's doing it to just get corporations richer. And unfortunately, I don't think that conservatives, they support freedom, but they don't see freedom from economic destitution as a form of freedom. And they don't see the government as the solution to economic destitution, which is a shame because all of the economic, really all the economic conditions that allowed our country to thrive was through social and political policies. And we've seen the corporations fucked up and caused the Great Depression, and then we bounced back through social programs and through war too, which is fucked up. But we bounced through it through government policies. So it's sad to see that they don't believe that the government can do the one institution that actually been able to fix a problem in the past is the solution, the institution that they think needs to be at least involved. And the people who always cause the issue, which is the big banks, the big investors, those are the ones who, overstretch the economy until it corrects itself. Those are the people who have the most faith that are not going to lead us into the rocks. So, that's why, make no mistake, that's why Trump wants. That's Trump's agenda. He wants to just have a corporate oligarchy, and even if you're a millionaire and you're yeah, that sounds pretty cool. I'm gonna no, it's not. It's people worth hundreds of millions of dollars minimum that are going to really benefit here. It's not going to be the small business owner who's over the last 10 years saved $2 million. That guy is still going to be paying super high taxes and dealing with inflation and not really getting huge profits out of it. He'll be okay. She'll be okay, but she would also be okay under the Harris campaign. So, administration. So I guess the question that I have to ask myself if I'm going to vote for these people is, do I want to accelerate the process or do I want to put a stopgap? Because the Democrats are not going to actively make things as bad as the Republicans are going to make it. But I don't know if the Democrats are going to correct anything meaningfully enough to stop some of the climate, ecological, migration, war, AI, corporate greed issues that we're dealing with in a meaningful way that's not going to just lead to the issues arising anyway. So I think that if you're just really oh yeah, I just can't let our democracy slip, even if it just is kicking the can down the road 4 more years, that's 4 more years I got, then yeah, vote for Kamala. If you yeah, I really support minority groups and they're not Gazans or immigrants, probably you want to support Kamala. If you're a Gazan, you wouldn't be voting. If you're a legal immigrant, you're probably not voting either way. So those people don't get to vote anyway, so it doesn't matter. But if you're transgender or just some sort of other minority group, you probably want to vote Kamala. But if you just want to hedge your bets in the chaos that's probably going to come, then and just hope that we can fix it before it gets too out of hand, then I think it's really I don't know, because I really don't think that the policies that were passed under the Biden administration or the Obama administration made meaningful differences. And I don't think that the efforts that's putting out here is enough to stop some of the issues that are existential to our country's health that the Democrats have a plan on addressing. And if you say, well, they can't, it's not that they're just in this impossible situation. Well, then what's the point then? If it's impossible for them to do anything besides slow the car down before it falls off the cliff, what's the difference? What's another? What's the not? You may as well stand on principle then, or not. It's up to you. But it's not that deep. When you're just talking about 4 more years, it's not that deep. If you're talking about 50 years, it's pretty deep. If you could make the country great for 50 more years, that's a lot of time. But just one more administration, I don't know. We're not going to have Democrats forever. Eventually, there's going to be a Republican, and they might just be the same. They're going to be just as bad as Trump in the eyes of the people framing them. So, those are my thoughts. Very rambly. I don't know if I'm going to even post this, but that's my thought on the debate.